In this video, you might be surprised at how many common facts that are actually wrong. Some of these are harmless misconceptions, while others could completely change how you see the world. Let's get started. 1. Largest city in the Mediterranean. When people think of the Mediterranean, their minds often go to iconic European cities like Rome, Athens, Barcelona, or Marseille. These cities have rich histories, stunning coastlines, and a strong cultural presence, so it's no surprise they are associated with the Mediterranean. However, none of them hold the title of the largest city in the region. It is actually Alexandria, Egypt. Alexandria, located on the northern coast of Egypt, has a population of over 5 million people, making it the largest Mediterranean city by far. Many people don't associate Egypt with the Mediterranean, but the country has an extensive coastline along the sea. One reason people mistakenly believe that a European city holds this title is because Mediterranean culture is often linked to southern Europe. Italy, Spain, and Greece dominate discussions of Mediterranean food, architecture, and history, overshadowing the fact that the region extends into North Africa and parts of the Middle East, second strongest currency in the world. When people think of strong currencies, the US dollar, the British pound, or even the euro often come to mind. These are widely used and recognized across the world, and the US dollar, in particular, is a global reserve currency. However, the strongest currency in terms of value is actually the Kuwaiti dinar. The Kuwaiti dinar, KWD, has the highest exchange rate of any currency, consistently trading at over $3 per dinar. This is due to Kuwait's vast oil wealth, strong economic policies, and limited money supply. Unlike the US dollar, which is used as a global standard for trade, the Kuwaiti dinar is less commonly used outside the region, but that doesn't change its high value. 3. Portugal is a Mediterranean country. Portugal is often grouped with Spain, Italy, and Greece as part of the Mediterranean region. Its architecture, food, and climate are similar, and it shares historical connections with Mediterranean trade and culture. However, Portugal is not actually a Mediterranean country. Geographically, Portugal is located along the Atlantic Ocean, not the Mediterranean Sea. While Spain has a Mediterranean coastline, Portugal is entirely on the western edge of the Iberian Peninsula, facing the vast Atlantic. This means it does not have direct access to the Mediterranean waters, making it incorrect to label it as a Mediterranean country. Despite this, Portugal shares many similarities with Mediterranean nations, which is why the misconception is so common. The warm, dry summers and mild winters found in Portugal are characteristic of Mediterranean climates, and its seafood-heavy diet is also similar to Mediterranean cuisine. 4. All EU countries use the euro. When the European Union was formed, the goal was to create a unified economic system, and a key part of that was the introduction of a single currency, the euro. Today, most EU countries use the euro as their official currency, but not all of them. In fact, 7 EU nations still use their own national currencies. Countries like Denmark, Sweden, and Poland are part of the European Union but have chosen to keep their own monetary systems. Denmark, for example, negotiated an opt-out from the euro when it was introduced and continues to use the Danish krone. Sweden held a referendum in 2003, where citizens voted against adopting the euro, and the Swedish krona remains in use. Other nations, such as Hungary and the Czech Republic, also have their own currencies. One reason for this is economic independence. Some countries prefer to control their own monetary policies rather than rely on the European Central Bank. This allows them to adjust interest rates and inflation according to their specific economic needs. Additionally, some nations fear that adopting the euro would weaken their national identity or economy. 5. Dubai is not always hot. Dubai is famous for its towering skyscrapers, luxury shopping, and of course, its desert climate. Most people assume Dubai is unbearably hot year-round, with scorching temperatures and endless sunshine. While it's true that Dubai experiences extreme heat in the summer, it is not always hot. During the winter months, temperatures in Dubai can drop below 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, especially at night. The city's desert climate means that while daytime temperatures can be warm, nights can become quite chilly. In some parts of the UAE, temperatures have even dipped close to freezing. One reason for this misconception is that Dubai's reputation is largely built around its summer weather. Tourists who visit in the peak season experience temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, reinforcing the idea that Dubai is always hot. However, locals know that winter in the UAE can bring cooler temperatures, and it's not uncommon to need a jacket in the evenings. 6. Rain smell. Fresh. Due to clean air. Many people love the fresh, earthy smell that follows rainfall, believing it comes from the air being cleaned by the rain. While rain does remove some pollutants from the air, the actual scent comes from something else entirely: soil bacteria and plant oils. The smell, known as petrichor, is caused by the release of compounds from the ground when raindrops hit the soil. Bacteria in the soil produce geosmin, a compound that creates the characteristic earthy scent. Plant oils that have built up on the surface are also released, contributing to the unique aroma. This misconception likely exists because the air does feel fresher after rain, and people associate this with the pleasant smell. While rain does help remove dust and some pollutants, the fragrance itself is more about chemistry than air purity. 7. Rain doesn't completely clean the air. Another common belief is that after a heavy rainfall, the air is completely clean and free of pollution. While rain does help remove some particles, it does not fully clean the air. Rainwater can wash away dust, pollen, and some pollutants, but fine particles and gases, such as carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxides, remain. Additionally, in highly polluted areas, rain can mix with airborne chemicals, creating acid rain, which can be even more harmful to the environment. The air may feel fresher, but that doesn't mean all pollutants are gone. In reality, air pollution is a complex issue that requires more than just a rain shower to fix. 8. Hail only happen in winter. People often associate hail with winter storms, assuming that it can only form in cold weather. However, hail actually occurs during thunderstorms, even in the middle of summer. Hailstones form when strong updrafts lift water droplets into freezing air high in the atmosphere. These droplets freeze and accumulate layers of ice before eventually becoming too heavy and falling to the ground. Since thunderstorms are more common in warm months, hail can happen even on hot summer days. This misconception exists because hail is made of ice, and people naturally associate ice with winter. But in reality, hail is more about storm intensity than seasonality. 9. Monsoons are just heavy rains. Many people think of monsoons as nothing more than extremely heavy rainstorms, but this is not entirely accurate. The term monsoon actually refers to a seasonal wind pattern, not just the rain it brings. Monsoons occur due to shifts in wind direction caused by temperature differences between land and ocean. In summer, warm air over land rises, creating a low-pressure system that pulls in moisture-rich air from the ocean, leading to heavy rains. In winter, the wind direction reverses, often bringing dry conditions. This is why monsoons are responsible for both wet and dry seasons in places like India, Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa. Because monsoons bring torrential rains, people mistakenly equate them with just heavy rainfall. However, the key characteristic of a monsoon is the wind shift, which can cause droughts in winter and floods in summer depending on the region. 10. The poles are cold because they are farther from the sun. It's easy to assume that the North and South poles are freezing because they are the farthest points from the sun. However, the real reason has more to do with the angle of sunlight and how heat is distributed on Earth. The Earth's tilt means that sunlight hits the equator more directly, concentrating warmth in tropical areas. At the poles, the sun's rays strike at a much lower angle, spreading the same amount of energy over a larger area. This results in less intense heating and much colder temperatures. Additionally, the poles experience long periods without sunlight. During the polar winter, the sun doesn't rise for months, preventing the land from warming up. The reflective nature of snow and ice further reduces heat absorption, keeping temperatures extremely low. So, the poles aren't cold simply because they are farther from the sun. It's all about how sunlight is distributed and absorbed. 11. Venezuela's bolivar is still stable. At one point, the Venezuelan bolivar was a functioning national currency, but today, it has been rendered nearly worthless due to severe hyperinflation. Despite this, some people still believe it holds value. Hyperinflation in Venezuela has caused prices to skyrocket, with the bolivar losing more than 99% of its value in recent years. The government has had to repeatedly introduce new versions of the currency, removing zeros from its banknotes to keep up with inflation. However, the problem persists, making everyday transactions difficult. As a result, many Venezuelans have abandoned the bolivar in favor of the US dollar, which is now widely used for trade and daily purchases. While the bolivar technically still exists, it no longer functions as a stable currency. 12. Every country has 4 seasons. Many people grow up experiencing spring, summer, autumn, and winter, so it's easy to assume that every country has these 4 seasons. In reality, many regions around the world only have 2 main seasons: wet and dry. Countries located near the equator, such as Indonesia, Brazil, and much of Africa, don't experience significant temperature changes throughout the year. Instead, their climate is dictated by rainfall patterns, leading to a wet season, with heavy rains and storms, and a dry season, with little to no rainfall. Most educational materials and media portray seasons from the perspective of temperate regions, where 4 distinct seasons are common. However, most of the world's population lives in areas with only 2 seasonal variations. 13. You'd sink instantly in quicksand. Movies and TV shows have long exaggerated the danger of quicksand, portraying it as a deadly trap where people sink rapidly and disappear. The truth is, quicksand is rarely deep, and people don't sink instantly. Quicksand is a mixture of sand, water, and clay, creating a thick, unstable surface. While it can be difficult to move in, the human body is less dense than quicksand, meaning that if you stay still, you will float rather than sink. The real danger of quicksand comes from panic and improper movement. Trying to thrash or struggle can cause a person to get stuck deeper, but remaining calm and moving slowly can help them escape. 14. Raindrops are shaped like teardrops. When people imagine raindrops, they often picture them as classic teardrop shapes, with a rounded bottom and a pointy top. In reality, raindrops are not shaped like teardrops at all. Raindrops start as spherical when they form in clouds. As they fall through the air, they experience air resistance, which flattens the bottom, making them resemble a hamburger bun or jelly bean rather than a teardrop. Small raindrops stay almost perfectly round, while larger ones become more flattened. If a raindrop gets too big, it breaks apart into smaller droplets due to air pressure. 15. A city's latitude determines its climate. Many people assume that a city's latitude, how far north or south it is from the equator, is the primary factor that determines its climate. While latitude plays a role, it is not the only or even the most important factor in many cases. Other elements like altitude, ocean currents, and wind patterns have a huge influence on climate. For example, Quito, Ecuador, is near the equator, but its high elevation, over 9,000 feet, keeps it cool year-round. London, UK, is farther north than many parts of Canada, but the Gulf Stream ocean current keeps it much warmer. Los Angeles and Cape Town are at similar latitudes, but ocean currents make their climates very different. Latitude is just one piece of the puzzle. In reality, climate is influenced by a combination of geographic, atmospheric, and oceanic factors. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating insights into geography and beyond.